actually here. I'll be right back. Okay, so in this session, we're going to do a really quick character concept, but we're going to be using a technique called photo bashing, right? So I'm going to walk you through sort of the process of that in terms of what's involved. So what is a photo bash? Well, generally, you can use the photo bash to achieve a couple of different outcomes, right? One of them might be sort of a quick concept, or, well, in this case, it's more useful when approaching sort of a live action property, right? So for me to kind of iterate on a photorealistic kind of human character would take me a long time, right? Whereas a photo bash is a quick and dirty way of firing off concepts without having to spend all that time doing sort of a nice piece of key art or like a photorealistic mock-up of the actors involved. You can use this technique a little bit later on as well when you start to build out your final character sketch. Now, this is a relatively new technique for me, and the reason why is in the past, I've classically only ever dealt with doing cartoon caricatures and things like that, right? So this is one of those techniques that I needed to utilize because of the fact that a lot of the initial sketches and designs that I was using to present this particular idea was giving the false impression that the property was going to be animated. So to get away from this locked-in notion of an animated property, you sort of have to force the live action component a little bit. And again, this allows you to knock off a character concept really quick. So I've already sort of started on this, and I'll show you what I got set up, and we'll take it from there. The concept you guys will be introduced to today is the layer mask and how you can utilize that layer mask in a non-destructive creative way, and I'll show you that. I'll also talk about how valuable that layer masking technique is in other pieces of software. So you'll see this technique demonstrated in Substance Painter and in Mari as well, right? So it's a wonderful way of working as opposed to sort of destructively. And I'll show you what I mean because I do have examples of sort of destructive editing. Okay, so in this particular scenario, I needed to zombify this character. And the character needed to have this head, right? Because let's just say that this is the actor that was chosen for this particular role, but there was no sort of shot of this actor sort of wearing rugby kit and in this particular pose. So we had to sort of bash this together with another body, right? So we can see that the head has been edited destructively, right? So what that means is I've actually gone in and erased those areas that I no longer needed, but they're gone. They're completely gone. That's okay though, because I know that in this particular area of the head, I'm going to have to do a paint over anyway for a variety of different reasons. And then if we take a look at the body was also edited destructively with the lasso tool, and the original rugby player's head has been removed, right? So here we go. That's the original digital double, and I've kept that layer as a backup. I thought I nested this guy down in the raw folder, right? So let's pop back over, and I've got a folder for the head, folder for the body. I'm just double checking. Okay, so that's my setup there. Now, what I need to do is I need to start working up some details. You can see I've already brought a skull in there, but I'm not that happy with that particular skull, so I'm probably going to kill that anyway. So again, what we need to do is we need to take this representation of the character and zombify him. Now, the difficult thing about the initial setup of this character was getting the scale to match. Now, we obviously have a number of different issues that are challenging us, including lighting, different lighting conditions, different saturations, different contrast, a lot of different visual characteristics. And I'm hoping that by diving into this, we'll be able to blend a few of these guys together. So I'm going to open where I've got my sort of rough textures sorted out a minute here. So where did I put those? Actually, I think that I placed those in my production folder under the images for photo bashing. If not, I'll just go and dig those up. I know where they are on my iPad. I'm wondering if I don't know if I've sent those over or saved those over yet. So I'm going to pop over and save those from the iPad. You know what? It's not a big deal. I just turned over and my iPad's actually exporting out another PSD file, so I can't log into it at the moment. That's okay. We'll just walk it through from scratch. So I'm going to pull over an Explorer window. Let's go take a look. And I think I looked for skull photograph. Now, I added the word photograph to my search terms because if you just look for skull, you'll just get like these medical pictures. And I want to find something with a little bit of lighting. So this is cool, but it's black and white. So I don't know if I can use that. This skull has some interesting color variation from the left and the right, but I don't want to use it. There was a specific one I found that I thought worked really well lighting condition wise, and I'll show you why in just a second. I want one that's got shading on both the left and the right of the skull. Not that one. And I discovered this earlier, but I don't know if I'm going to be a little hard pressed to find it again. That's a problem with using skull as a search term. You just get sort of a boatload of results here. That's cool. Nice skull rotation. I might have to wing it with one of the other ones. Okay, so I'm going to try. I could have sworn it was on the first page of my search terms. So I'm going to go for just skull photo, and I'll get different results. Yeah, so this one's too flat on, right? So that's the other thing too. You need to match the curvature of the lens visually with the lens curvature on our actor, right? So I'm going to pop down to... Yeah, I remember passing all these gold skulls, so that's cool. I think we're getting close. Yeah, something like this, with that kind of a lighting condition. Will this guy do? This guy might be okay. Let's keep this guy in mind. I'm going to right click, open image, a new tab. Hold on to that one. It's looking pretty close. I think I may have gone down a ways before I landed on a really, really nicely lit, nicely photographed skull. And I found the perfect skull, so I'm just sort of a little bit loath to use something that I don't think is as good. But yeah, we'll see. So I'm going in to inspect this a little bit. Yeah, the skull that I originally got was actually better. I'm gonna pop into my Explorer window real quick, take a quick little look around. I wasn't planning on having this sort of delay while I was doing this, but oh well, there you go. So let's see if we can find this. I bet you my iPad will complete exporting by the time I land on this. So I believe that I sent those photos, those texture photos, out into characters folder, photo bash, in here. Nope. reference images. Okay, well, we'll try one more time. I thought for sure I did skull photo, but let's just look under straight up skull. That's kind of cool. We got some good lighting going on there. Oh, let me add a filter just to make sure we're only getting large images. That one is not too bad. But not as shaded as I wanted. So I'm gonna have another quick little look down here. Halloween's coming up, guys. Woo! Crazy. All right. Okay. That's cool. Probably comes close to what I'm after. Let's just leave it at that. So I'm going to open this image in a new tab. Generally, when you open in a new tab, you get, that's pretty cool actually. You get the full size image, the image on its own. So I'm going to save this image as. And now we need to stash it in a location we can get to. So you guys know I've been using Ray Drive and mapping my Google Drive to it. So inside my Google Drive, I'm just going to, not there, pop into here, and under production design, I'm gonna keep it all in the folder with the character, right? So I like to create a folder called raw, and that's just my sort of unvarnished images. Oh no, this is a WebP. Can I save it in a different? No, I can't. So I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to move it on over to a larger monitor so that when I zoom in, hopefully I'll get the whole thing. Not really. That's okay. And I'm just going to hit print screen. And I know you guys can't see this at the moment, but that's okay. All I'm doing is doing a screen capture. And what that does is it gives me this, and I don't really have to save this off. I can just Control-C copy. Ooh, did I get a, oh, I got, you know what? I got my little zoom icon in there. That's no good, is it? All right, so let's try this again. So I'm gonna print screen this bad boy. Nope. Print screen with my cursor way off to the side. And I'm just going to grab this skull. So that's gone to my capture utility. And instead of saving this off as an image, I'm just going to Control copy, come back over to Photoshop and Control paste, and this guy's in there. Okay, so with the head, I'm going to move this down to the bottom, and I might give it its own grouping. Right? I can call this skull. Oh, actually, no, I do want this guy sort of on top to demonstrate the technique I will be using. And so let's do the Control-T and get this guy in the position. I'm probably going to reduce the opacity just until I get the positioning of this guy correct, right? Move him over. Let's zoom in. Right. Now what I'm looking at are the eye holes and the nose, and just making sure I got it relatively in the sub, just a touch. I've got snapping on. I'm using the arrow keys to sort of fine-tune the placement a little bit. Tilt of the head, rotation of the head is a little bit off, but that's okay. We're not using the whole image. Right. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to check my snapping, make sure that that's off. The ability to sort of more accurately and with more precision place my images in the shot. Okay, so anatomically, The skull is a little bit too big. So let's bring this guy down. I'm looking at the zygomatic process, which should be about there. Yeah, I think I shouldn't have scaled this guy up. And now I'm using the arrow keys to position this a little bit better. And I might actually, this character's head may be a little bit thicker than the original skull owners. So let's see about doing something like that. Just a little bit. I don't want to go too far over. There we go. Something like that. Relatively close, right? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the size, the opacity of that up full. And what I'm going to do over here is to come down and, not an adjustment layer, sorry, add a mask. Okay. This is going to pop over, make sure I am on the correct display. I don't want to be talking, oh, I'm not. I'm on the wrong display. Sorry, guys. What happened there? Okay, I'll flip back over here. Okay, that's the correct. So all you missed, guys, was that I came in here with the transform tools and I brought the opacity. Let's undo back one step. So I brought the opacity down and just got the positioning of the skull correct. Now, you'll see we won't get it 100% correct, right? So the cavity for the nose is a little bit off. We could probably stand to nudge that over. And I've just been using the arrow keys to nudge the skull over and try and get it in place. I was looking at, this is what I was talking about, the zygomatic process over here for the skull. And I wanted to make sure it fit with the ridges of the brow. I'm wondering if the, oops, I'm gonna hold down shift. I wonder if we can just squish that skull down a bit. That feels okay to me. So I'm just gonna hit Control T. Just wanna see if we need to bring it down a little bit more this way. Yeah, something like that, right? So that's gonna give us the initial texture that we can work with. So with that skull in place, all I did was copy paste from the web page into Photoshop and then just use the transform tools. You'll see it again, actually, when I bring in the next image. So now I'm going to bring that opacity all the way back up again, and I'm going to come down here and click Layer Mask. So inside this mask, I'm going to come over to here and go Edit, Fill, and I'm going to fill that with the foreground color. Boom. And the mask blacks it all out, right? So the skull disappears. This is it. This is just going to be the crux of this mask lesson. After the next 2 seconds, you'll get it. And there's nothing more to it than that. So I've just got a brush here now, and I'm in the mask. You can see that I've selected that mask. I'm just increasing the size of my brush, and now I'm just going to paint in here. And as you can see, as I paint, it reveals the skull underneath. That's it. That's all there is to this technique, right? So I'm gonna undo this a couple times because what I wanna do is bring that opacity of the brush down because I wanna bring those details in just subtly, right? Kill those eyebrows. Right. And let's bring that brush up. Right, so something like that. And again, all I'm doing is I'm painting non-destructively into this mask area here. And just having a little bit of that kind of bony color show through. We don't want to completely zombify the guy. Maybe we do. And I'm slowly sort of revealing that image kind of over top, right? So what I'm going to do is to bring in sort of the next image, right? So, okay, cool. So the previous Photoshop file looks like it might have been exported out. So let's see if we, actually, let me see if I can export out the images I've collected, and then we can sort of work from there. All right. So, grab those photos. I got a few different things that I might need. Let's see if we can bring these guys over. I got some photos of moss, maggots, eye cataracts, mushrooms. There we go. All right. So I selected those guys. Let's see if we can send those over to my Google Drive. Oh, I might have to put them in the old OneDrive, actually. Yeah, I think Google Drive has a transfer limit. That's cool. I'll grab a few of the things I wanted straight away. Skull, torso, and eye cataracts. We'll try that. Yep, now I can export these guys into my Google Drive. And I'm going to pop that into my project folder. And then we will take it from there. I noticed with the file transfer to Google Drive off the iPad, sometimes it errors out with the first transfer. And then you have to do it again, and then something connects. Oh, not bad. Okay, that's going through. All right. So that was torso. Now let's go. Oops. Let's select our mushrooms. Mushrooms and maggots. Let's do that one. Send those guys through. I tell you, sometimes it's hard doing the Google search for images. The maggots, oof, it just sends shivers up my spine as I'm looking through all these different maggot pictures. All right, so I'm going to pop those into my production design folder. And where I've got my PhotoBash components, save those there, upload those, and then we just need a little bit of torn clothing. And then we'll take it from there. There's a couple of different approaches with the skull, which we'll sort of explore in a sec here. When it comes to dried blood, I find something that's quite helpful, not only just in your searches, because you could get potentially really disturbing imagery, but also just in the perception of the blood. I find that rust works really well, so I'm going to use the rust texture to try to give myself a little bit of that dried, caked on blood look. So that might work pretty good. Who knows? We'll give it a try. So I'm going to pop into, let's save this. This is the last batch of images. We'll save that off, and hopefully now I've got all my tools in place and all the things that I need to get going. So let's pop in here. The benefit of the Twitch stream, it's just real time me doing my thing. And like I said, it gives me, like I said in the previous video, it gives me the raw footage that maybe I can go back later and make tighter tutorial videos out of. I can also re-voice over and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, so those photos are going over. Let's see what's come into our environment. So we're over here into the raw photos. Perfect. Okay. So we got a few of these guys. They're relatively small in size. I think I'm just going to go right straight through and open all these guys up. Let those guys come through. If they've finally finished uploading, which they have, that's good. Okay, turn off the iPad. So you can see I've got a few initial sort of images to work with, just for the time being. There's that skull. And I think I found the exact same skull, didn't I? That's cool. That's the one I was looking for. So I'm happy about that. Yep, that's the exact same skull. So we got it. That's cool. Get rid of that. Now, I'm going to go back to my original PhotoBash, which is off screen. I'm going to head over into my Windows folder And when you scroll down to the bottom here, right, it'll show you that's the original picture, right? So one of the things that we can do is put some torn flesh over that, but I don't think I'm going to do that this time, just because I want to be really sort of careful with how zombified this character gets, right? So this is the cheekbone, and we've got a little bit of that coming through, and maybe something here. Let's get that crack off the bridge of the nose. Now what I'm doing is I'm occasionally looking over to my other monitor, which has this. So that's my frame of reference. It's all blown up to full screen over on my second monitor, so that I got a bit of a guide in terms of what I'm erasing here. And I know if I've gone a little bit too far, right? So the cavity of the eye, it's all dark, but I just want to be really super careful. I don't want to go too far. That's a little bit bony there, so that's cool. I like that. And here's a sort of sunken in area where that's coming through. It almost looks like makeup from the what is it? The Day of the Dead festival or whatever it is, the Mexican festival. So I'm going to zoom out. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so well, that's the wonderful thing about doing things non-destructively is you may have doubts, but it's just all about experimentation to see how the thing is looking. Wonder, can we go straight? Nope. That's the extent of the skull there. Okay. I don't want to show any teeth, but let's see if we can get a little bit of boniness in here. Oh, there's a little bit of something going on there. Well, I don't like that, so I can switch colors and I can paint the black back in. And because it's a mask, it just nicely does that thing. There's a fairly strong kind of demarcation line up here, so maybe I want to paint that back out. Let's see a little bit more dude's eyebrow. You know, there's a little bit of lightness going on to show that. And I'm going to switch to my white color because I want to bring a little bit more skull in here. Now I've chosen this skull as well because the lighting conditions are relatively close. Okay. That might be too ridgy. If that's a word. I want to take out some of the, make sure the eyes are sunken in a little bit. So he's still recognizably human, so that's all right. That's cool. So I'm going to come in here, just bring a little bit more of the bone out. I think. So I'm trying to think now as well, design-wise. What are sort of the friendly features of the face, right? So we want to keep sort of the nose and I think if you paint it out, because this character is supposed to be friendly, right? Friendly character. I don't know if I mentioned that, so I'm mentioning it now. But one of the things I want to do is to make sure that there's no revulsion. And I think if I peeled away the lips, if I did something like this and brought the teeth out, then it's kind of like, oh no, that's a little bit too, do you know what I mean? A little bit too horrifying. And I think because there is sort of stigma with the mouth area and what zombies eat, I sort of want to stay away from that. Now, from that skull, that could be all that I need, right? So let's move on, bring some more images in. I'm going to hold off on the rust for a sec, and the moss, and the torn clothing. I don't know where I'm going to put maggots. But I did want to get at that, right? So I'm going to Control A and Control C to copy that. Let's pop back over here. Oh, I've got my recovered PSD, so I want to save a new version. So I'm going to save as, and this will be version 2. Let's pop up to version 10, right? Because I'm going to show that it's related to version 1. I'm also not sure what prior versions have been saved, so I want to make sure that I'm not overwriting anything else that might possibly exist. This is kind of fun. I like it. It reminds me a little bit of texturing, right? So as this is saving off, it's a fairly huge file. Really, again, I just want to reiterate, that's all I'm teaching, right? There's a few different things. I'm going to teach you guys about adjustment layers, but a quick mask on the layer is a wonderful non-destructive way of painting details in and out again. Whereas when you erase, it's gone, and you have to Control Z to undo it to bring details back, and it's just not a good way of working, right? Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to cover for today. It's the only technique I think that I need at the moment. And then we'll talk a little bit about what am I going to do with the lighting and the blending to try and get these two images sort of married together. The lighting is slightly different. One's interior lighting as well. So just the headshot is interior lighting and the rest of the body is exterior lighting. So we're going to have to do something a little bit tricky. I found a photo of a model which has lighting that more closely approximates what I'm after. So we may be able to just replace the anatomy, actually, which might be good. Oh, it's not letting me navigate to the folder because it's saving off at the moment. Okay, I'm going to flash the Be Right Back, and I will be right back. All right, we're back. Okay, so I'm just gonna see if I've preloaded. There we go. So one of these two images will help us out here. So I'm gonna put this guy over there, and let's grab this guy. Don't ask me what this dude is wearing on his head. I have no idea. Okay, so I'm gonna pop over back to the original, and let's zoom out a little bit. So like I said, I had to look for a very, very similar pose, and I think this pose is closer to the original than this one. You can see the shoulder angle and the torque of the left arm coming forward, whereas this is more of a shoulders back kind of pose. So let's get rid of this guy. Right. So I'm going to do the same thing, Control A, Control C. Control A, Control C, and then pop over here and do a Control V. Right. So I pasted that torso in. Let's minimize before I close this. I want to make sure we've got that torso. And I've pasted him into the head folder. Now this is what I did last time, and this is what you guys missed, right? So I just copy pasted this guy, right? Let's bring him back up. Now there's going to be a resolution mismatch, obviously, but we'll try to just paint in what we need. So here's what I did. Just scaled this guy up, brought that opacity down to a particular level, right? So that I could come in here and more closely approximate that size match. Now I'm locking the shoulder in as an anchor point, and I'm just going to pull this guy out. Where is the little anchor gizmo gone? Actually, I just realized that. I've never really needed it until about now, but it's interesting, it's gone. Okay, so I'm just, again, lining up the shoulders. And what I might do is I might just bring that opacity back up just to see what the head match is like. Because these guys should be relatively close. I think my transformed layer is a little bit bigger. Little bit bigger. Not too bad though. Not too bad. So let's zoom this guy out. So this guy will also give me, I'm going to nudge the shoulders over to see if we can get better alignment. This guy will also give me the, I believe, the neck detail that I need to build out sort of the trapezius area. Now, one thing that really kind of concerned me was how thin the original photo's neck is, right? So I'm going to try and paint this guy in. So I think we've matched him pretty close to the T. Maybe lower this guy a couple of pixels. And we could stand with rotating them a little bit. Just a touch. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So, same thing. I'm going to bring just going to take a look at the opacity. Now again, I'm just focused on the torso and the shoulders. Obviously the head's going to be completely misaligned. But let's see where the waist ends up. The waist ends up pretty close to where the original waist is. That's cool. I might go ahead and get rid of the original dude's arms, but I think the scaling will be off by quite a large margin. Yeah, the scaling will be massively off. So let's try bringing this guy in just a little bit. I'm going to try and get really close to matching the hands just to see. And that's not too bad. The shoulders still seem to fit. And when we bring the opacity down, the head seems a little bit closer. We've still got where the shirt cinches, sort of in the upper quarter of the bicep. That still seems to be working. The hands seem a little bit better. Doesn't seem massively huge. I mean, the original guy's got slightly longer forearms and different positioning too. So there's more foreshortening on the original. Let's try that. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Okay, so with that sort of said and done, I'm going to come in here again, layer mask. I'm going to go over to my swatches here. Just a quick tip about the swatches. When you hit D, it goes to default, so black and white, right? When you hit X, you can switch those two, right? So I never thought I'd ever need never thought I'd ever need the swatches, but they actually come in really handy, right? So again, D for the default, X to flip the swatches. Now, Alt D will fill with the foreground color, and Control D will fill with the background color. I know I'm on my color layer here, so I'm going to flip over to my mask. I'm going to hit X to swap the colors and Alt D. So I've filled all that in with black, right? And I'm going to come in here. Now, originally what I wanted to do with this is to give myself sort of the ability to maybe tear this guy's shirt up a little bit. Whoops, switch over to white. Tear this guy's shirt up a little bit, right? So his torso starts to show through. I'll probably need a different brush, I think, that's a little bit more. Yeah, I'll go with a different brush, but you get the idea. I wanted to go in there and rip the shirt up and show some of the torso through, but I needed an original torso to do that. What I want to do, though, is I want to come in here, do another quick mask on this guy, right? I'm going to hit Control-D to fill with the background color. Or actually, let's keep this white. What I'll do is I'll flip over to the black, and let's paint this guy's arms out, right? So I'm going to bring that opacity straight up. Now, the beauty of this is that if it doesn't work, we'll just bring the arms back, right? As opposed to, again, going in with a lasso tool or, just a straightforward erase and then erasing that way. This gives me the option to bring this guy's arms back if it's not working out for us. I'm just going to do the one arm just to see. It'll give me an idea of whether or not this will work. So I'm going to go over like this. And we'll pop back over to this guy. And let's bring in this guy's arm. Now, I'll just do a quick and dirty, because I can always paint back over this, right? Because I know I'm going to bring in some of the background, and you know what, I should have prepped this image a little bit. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to come in here, and it's a bit tight around there, but that's okay. That's all right. And I'm going to switch colors. And let's take out some of that detail here. That's kind of cool. Okay. So we also need to, we've got an alignment issue. That's all right. It's all right. I'll sort it out in a sec. And this replacement image is super blurry, but hopefully we got more zombie details to put on this character, so maybe we'll be okay. Just want to see what that looks like. I'm gonna have to go back onto the image, hit the V key, and just move them over a bit. Right? Something like that. I think I need a little bit more to be able to determine if that's going to work for me. So I'm going to click on the mask. I believe if you right click on it, we should have the option to disable that layer mask, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I want to just deal with this guy, right? So I'm going to flip over to my Magic Wand tool. And here's a new feature in Photoshop 2020. We have this ability to do something called Select Subject, which uses a new sort of AI plugin that'll do exactly that. How cool is that? That's just amazing, right? So I'm going to come in here and it's the best way to do it. I know. We'll come in here and I'll right click and let's invert, right? So we invert that mask and then we're going to go back over to the layer, and I'm going to fill that. Actually, you know what? No. What I want to do is affect the image, not the mask, because the image is what's getting in my way. So I'm going to disable that layer mask, come over here, and I'm just going to delete all that. Right? So now we're just dealing with the character or the actor. Right? it's actually quite cool because it allows me a little bit more leeway in terms of, like, I think I'm just going to shift left mouse button drag to non-uniformly scale him over this way. And if I hit the V key, I can bring him up just a touch. I believe the mask has traveled with me. Let's double check that. I hope so. A little bit. The mask has traveled with me a little bit, right? But I'll show you how this benefits me, right? So if I come over, I'm back in the mask, and I come in and switch back over to my paintbrush. Now I can freely do this without having to worry that I'm bringing back the background, right? And it makes it a little bit easier for me to do my thing. Obviously, there's some artifacts and things that'll need to be sort of sorted out, tightened up, fixed up. That's okay. I just want to see how that looks. So, to be honest, I think I like the original arms better. So I'm going to pop back over to the original, right? And we'll right click on the mask and we'll disable that. And with this guy, I'm just going to come into the mask area, lasso that off, and let's black it out for now. Right? Oops. There you go. Yeah, let's try and stick with that. Now, what I want to do is I want to see, the original reason I grabbed this particular shot was to get the torso area. Does that work? Just doing it quick. I think it works, right? So that's cool. So I want to add some rips in through there, right? And we'll do that in a sec. I might actually see if I can use the ripped clothing to paint that in. The other thing I wanted to do was to come in here and add a little bit of that neck back. Now there's going to be a color mismatch, but we'll sort that out in a second. I'm going to go in here and see where the dude's neck is. I think we'd be better off to use the original guy's neck. So in retrospect, I think I would have preferred saving the original guy's head, but that's okay. I do have the photo that this was based on. Actually, I wonder if I've got the original stashed inside this particular PSD file. So I'm going to check this out. Hey, how's it going? I got 2 viewers. All I'm doing is just doing as you can see, just a photo bash concept, right? Now, whilst this is opening up, does this make a great basis to start a character concept painting? Yeah, you bet, right? A lot of, you'll probably see it in a lot of like the Avengers concepts and things like that. You may, or for television, my friend Andy Poon, who works on all the CW, DC Comics costume designs. This is what he does really quickly, so he can photo bash in and paint in different costume variations and things like that. And he can work really, really quickly using this particular technique. You know what? I just realized, looking at this, that down here, I do have the originals stashed in my raw folder. Did that for a reason. So, I think that there's our guy, right? So I'm going to Control J him. I'm going to bring him out. And then close up the raw folder and hide it. So with this guy, what I'll do is I'll bring him over to the body folder, pop him on top there. So I'm going to do that technique again with the magic wand, right? So I'm going to come to the magic wand, select subject. It's going to go off and do this thing. I used to have to paint these out manually. So I'm like so happy with this new development in 2020. And I'm going to kill that. Now this time, what I will do is This might not be as good an idea as I thought because his head actually takes up a lot of that neck real estate. But let's try it. Let's try it. We're here. So again, I'm just going to pop that mask on and do the Control Delete. Sorry, Alt Delete. It would help if I was on the fill tool. Right. It's Control Delete, sorry. And we'll go over to the brush tool and let's see about painting this back a bit. I needed to actually match this up as well. Right? So I'm just making sure that this lines up. There you go. So let's pop in there. We're on the mask now, and I'm just going to paint some of that detail back in. So if I've done this correctly, we should just see 100%. I'm on that layer. Have I selected something? Selected something by accident. Okay, we are. Yep, I am painting back, but nothing is showing up. So let's see. Let's. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to disable this layer mask again. What happened to the visibility of this guy? That layer. Oh, layer opacity. Whoa. I didn't do that. Okay. So, yeah, there we go. So let's paint this sort of back in again. So we got the width of his neck kind of sorted out here. It's got like a super thick neck. But yeah, what I was afraid of is that his jaw starts kind of earlier than my character's. So just seeing where I'm going to need to paint that out. I'll probably paint this out here and here. But I wanted to get an indication of how thick that neck is supposed to be. It's supposed to be about there, right? Ooh, getting these two to marry up is going to be a little bit difficult, I think. Yeah, I might have to just take the original and rubber stamp them over. Yeah, I don't know if I like this, guys. I'm gonna take that out. Okay. I'm going to take a quick little attempt at sorting this out. So what I'm going to do is come in here with I'm on that layer. I'm going to go into the stamp tool. I'm going to try this. So I'm going to hit the Alt key and sample that area and see if I can just extend that up a little bit. And then come in here, maybe do something like that. I know there's artifacting and stuff like this. I'll clean it up in a second. I just want to see if this is the right way to go. So grab that and maybe try to follow this up a little here. Something like that. Well, this side worked out okay. I think maybe I need a different strategy for the other side. Unless I thicken this guy's head out. I'll do that by, let's see if we can do this. actually have to come in here and just alt sample color and then paint this in a little bit. Let's erase that. If we come back out, now I'll probably paint in other details there for that. I might grab this side of the neck and try and put it on the other side and see what we get. So I'm going to come in and do a quick little layer via copy, and then Control T, and then right click in here and flip horizontal. Right, so we got this piece. I just want to put that there. Again, just to see if it works, right? I just not committed to it yet. I just want to see if this will work out. It might. So it's giving him like a super thick neck. Actually, I should have actually grabbed this whole thing, I think. Let's try this. So I've selected that. Make sure we're on the right layer. Let's turn that one off. And then I'm going to go right click, layer via copy, Control T, right click, flip horizontal. That gives me that little piece. And we went right up to the ear with that, right? So I'm going to rotate this around because it's not going to be like a perfect kind of alignment. I just wanted to extend that out a little bit. It's kind of cool because it's a bit, more cartoony. We get away with it, I think, to a certain degree because we are zombifying the guy, right? So we can get away with quite a bit, actually. Let's try that. So that doesn't look too bad. Obviously, I'm going to have to do a fair amount of paint over on this to get it looking correct. I'm going to get rid of the underpainting that I did there. Grab this. Now I'm going to let's save a version of this first, and then I'll marry that down. That's the correct thickness for the body of the neck for the body type, right? I'd imagine the original actor as well as the jaw. So the jaw extension just feels a little bit better to me, right? So I'm going to save this off as a version. And whilst that's saving, I'll talk about a couple of different things. So the other thing that I sort of wanted you guys to get from the... Ooh, that was a fast save. Or, yeah, I see. It's that stupid compatibility window always opens on my second monitor. Yes, there we go. So it should take a fair amount of time to save that off. Actually, not too bad. So there are a few different techniques there that I want you to understand. The idea of non-destructively working with masks, but also sort of sampling various parts of the image and then using it somewhere else, right? Almost like skin grafting from one area to another. And using symmetry, but understanding that you have to go and paint asymmetry back in at some point. Just a couple of different techniques there. I do kind of want to block in the rest of the flesh around the neck. Now, we've got two different areas here that are of concern. This sort of saturation and color doesn't quite match with the arm. So what I'm hoping, because I got to zombify the guy, that when I start going through with some details to erect the skin, I'll be able to tie it together that way. I tried color correcting the two different areas of skin, but it was quite difficult to get it to look right. Due to the lighting conditions, the lens of the original cameras, and all kinds of other stuff. It's beyond my skill, let's just say. I know some more professional compositors who've been at this for decades could probably find a fairly decent match, or a good digital intermediate color grading guy would probably be able to do it. But again, this is just supposed to be a quick concept, right? So I only want to spend maybe a couple more hours on this. And then from there, move on to another character for a few hours and then call it a day. What I might do is actually I might leave it at that, and I will come back in at some point and maybe show sort of the finished work, and then flag up the layers. Partly because I got a deadline due today, and I'm finding just by going through this process, it is actually slowing me down a little bit. But in addition, I can't really do it justice at the moment. Let's dive in a little bit later, I think, with another photo concept. I'll tell you what, we'll just keep going. I'll build on this. As long as you understand and you've seen an example of the technique of using non-destructive editing and adding sort of details to the head, you can go off and experiment with it with your own kind of photo portrait. Get some skull or some anatomy, veins, tissue, whatever, and then try this technique and paint it into the original kind of actor's face, and just have fun with it. I will come back later on this Twitch stream and show you the end result and see what you guys think. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, let you guys go, and I will pop back in later today.